everyone, and welcome back to the Nina Brown Get Down. Today I have Tamisha Walker with me to discuss what's going on in the communities. How are you doing, Ms. Walker?
I'm doing fine, and you?
I'm
Glad
doing
to be
good.
here.
I'm
Nina
doing
Brown Get Down show.
But before we introduce her, let me give you a little background on Ms. Walker. Take a look. Tamisha Walker is an executive director and founder of Safe Return and a PICO Live Free organizer. Walker began her work as a Richmond-based community organizer and known advocate on issues relating to mass incarceration and racial disparity in the criminal justice system. Tamisha has organized and coordinated Safe Return and its projects at a local, state, and national level. Tamisha is formerly incarcerated and shares a powerful personal story about the journey to healing and successful reentry. She has 5 years of community organizing experience in a city impacted by trauma and economic inequality, including her own personal experience with trauma and poverty growing up in Richmond, California. She is a mother of 2 healthy sons, and her educational experience includes professional training in research and advocacy for the formerly incarcerated and their families, violence prevention strategies, and conflict mediation to reduce urban gun violence. Please welcome Tamisha Walker. Now, Ms. Walker, what is the Safe Return Project and why does it exist?
The Safe Return Project is a group of formerly incarcerated folks, so folks directly impacted by the criminal justice system, professionally trained in community organizing, research, and advocacy to change policies and infrastructures around the way people are served when they come back home from incarceration, promoting good policies that also help people reintegrate successfully into housing, jobs, family reunification, and things of that nature that will promote better public safety. So what Safe Return believes in is that those directly impacted by the systems are the only people that could really lead the work successfully on the ground and inform the policies. Policies that need to move forward so folks can be whole when they come back to the community. And we believe like a best practice of public safety really is allowing people to be able to be a part of their own liberation, right? So creating a space where they can be healthy when they come back to their community.
Oh, okay, that's good. And so how did you get involved with this work?
So I got involved with the Safe Return Project probably about 5.5 years ago. So I've been home from incarceration 7 years, so I actually did some time in jail myself, and I was facing some serious charges. I, got released after doing some time and came home. And it was really hard trying to find employment. I had to check that box, the one that asks you, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And it was just like one of them moments where I was like, I never had to deal with that before. So I worked a couple of side jobs here and there, but I always had these barriers. I decided to go back to school, but then I got this note saying that this research team was being hired. You had to have a felony. At first I was like, what? It's gotta be a joke, but I'm gonna try it anyway because I need a job. And it turned out to be like the most dynamic, transformative experience I ever had. Just really coming in, even to the interview, they ask you questions like, what do you want to do in your community? Like, how do you want to change your community? How do you want to be a benefit to your community coming back from incarceration? And like, what do we need to do for you to provide that? And I was just like, what, for real? And I needed a job. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna try this out. I don't know nothing about advocacy, research, policy, none of that, but I'm gonna try it out because I needed the income at the time. But it just really, it was on a trajectory of where I kind of wanted to go with my life after incarceration, so I gave it a try. And here I am, like 5 years later, the director and a founding member of the Safe Return Project. So I'm pretty proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish over the years.
Yeah, okay, good job. So why is this work important to you?
The work of the Safe Return Project is important to me for so many reasons. I think one of the reasons is because, we have a lot of structures that are set up where it hinders us as a people. and we aren't really allowed to be active in a process where we get to create the spaces that we could thrive in.
Yeah.
And I really felt like if this was going to be a true experience where we can inform the policies and the infrastructure as formerly incarcerated folks, then it had to be something radical that I've never seen before. And I think that that everybody directly impacted, whether it's by poverty, disenfranchisement, mass incarceration, or whatever it is, need the opportunity to be the ones leading those revolutionary type of activities and responses to like everything in our communities that create oppression. And when I recognized that nobody else could really liberate me the way I knew how, like through my lived experiences, that's when I knew that like this type of work is very important in our communities. Like everybody should be figuring out a way to be a part of their own rescue, period.
Exactly. No excuses, right?
None.
Okay. So mass incarceration is a hot topic today, and it's on the presidential platform. So why do you think that is?
Everybody out there in the world, they know why that is. Like we all know why that is, right? It's like we got the Michael Browns, we got like these experiences, right? The Black Lives Matter movement, like radical young people going out there and saying like no more, right? No more dark bodies down in the streets, right? At the hands of like state-sanctioned violence. No more police violence in our communities, right? And I think the other issue that continued to rise over time was that we had really bad policies. The war on drugs implemented so many bad policies that not only devastated the U.S. but other countries, right? And now we're seeing the backlash of like it's really not cost effective to incarcerate folks on a mass level. It costs this country a lot of money for one, but not just the monetary cost, but the human cost, right? To communities and like the disenfranchisement of millions and billions of folks. Like I think about 4.5 million folks right now, if I'm accurate, or a little more here in the U.S. are people with felonies. They can't even vote, right? So that even takes you out of the electorate. You can't even vote for nobody. And I think folks started to look at all of this as like a problem. And saying that mass incarceration is directly impacting Black and Latino communities. African American men are incarcerated at a higher rate than any other race, right, here in the U.S. African American women are right after Latino women right now being incarcerated. And so we just saying like there's something wrong with this infrastructure. Right. And we need to take a look at it. Now the presidential campaign, of course, we already know folks want to get elected. Young Black people saying no more, you gotta get on board with their platform, right? You wanna get the vote of the millennials. But then of course you got all of these folks fighting for the rights of people who've been previously impacted by, what Michelle Alexander called a new Jim Crow, right? Which is like slavery by another name, which is mass incarceration. Right. So now you got all these presidential candidates like Bernie Sanders, of course, and like Hillary Clinton saying like, we need to do something about the criminal justice system because it's broken, right? And I think what we need to be more conscious of as like people of color and those impacted by these systems is that we don't need to fall for that. Right. We don't need to fall for that. Like they could say that they're against mass incarceration all they want on their presidential platform, but what we really need them to do is stand up and put it into action. So we just got to keep raising the hard questions while they on the run. What I would say is that I don't know what Bernie has done, but I know that Hillary Clinton has like sparked a lot of conversations across the country because she was a catapult into what is now what we call a mass incarceration due to the bad drug policies her husband passed when he was the president. Yeah, and the 3 strikes law and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. So you have 2 sons, correct?
Yeah, Yamani and Ira.
Okay. So how do you think your work will shape their future societal experiences?
I guess what I would say about that is just that, so one, I love my sons, right? But I also see the value and creativity in young people, right? And like a lot of religious folks, like if you spiritual, they say like, the new generation is supposed to inherit the earth, but do we want them to inherit like all of like the devastation that's being created before them, right? So I think for me, the work that I'm doing right now is really creating the promise that they supposed to inherit a world where they can step out and be like whole and authentic, right? And be who they are. And so that's what I'm fighting for, is a world that I want them to step into, that's gonna accept them in their dark skin and notice that like that they add more to society than society wanna pretend that they actually do.
Right.
And as far as like, you know, my oldest son, like I think that like he is a lot more liberated and conscious around like who he is in his dark skin, and a lot more confident because of the work that I'm doing. And Ira, my younger son, he like, I'm gonna do what my mama doing. Like I'm gonna be an organizer like my mom organized, and he organizing in school right now, little groups. So I think that like creating leadership is like, we gotta model that, right? We gotta model that for our kids so they can be confident, so they can go out in the world and they can continue to create change, especially kids in dark bodies, because they need to know that like they can be confident to bring all that they are and not have to worry about dying in the streets.
Right. That's good. You have a good positive influence on your kids. That's amazing.
I try. One step at a time, you know what I'm saying? Get the little teenage door slam and try to find out what's going on. But I do know that, you know, I'm gonna keep it always 100. Like, this is the world as it is right now, but this is what we fighting for. So we gotta work with me, young brother.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you feel about voting at this particular time? Do you think everybody should still exercise that right, or do you think that it's like a double-edged sword?
Definitely. I'm gonna just tell you right now, if you out there and you like, my vote don't count, my voice doesn't matter, you know what I mean? There's like, I just want to let you know, like, the worst thing you could do is like not exercise your right to vote, right?
Exactly.
Like, I think that there are folks out there that don't know and feel that their voice don't matter, but it does. It really does, right? I also think that because my focus with Safe Return is more around criminal justice system and folks coming home from incarceration, like, people on probation can vote. Like, if you're on probation, you can vote. Vote in this election. If you're on parole, encourage your family members to vote on your behalf, right? Like, we gotta figure out a way to mobilize each other to enact the black vote. Because I can tell you right now, black women are the #1 voters in the country. We turn out.
That's right.
We turn out and we vote.
Yeah.
We don't always vote in our own interests. And that's just like another conversation that needs to be influenced. What we're doing right now is just like a lot of voter education out in the community, getting some of this information out.
Yeah.
Tapping into the low propensity voters, right? People of color who only vote in presidential elections. It's like, we got to do a little bit better than that, right? We got the BART board coming up, vote. Like, who knew we could vote for the BART board? Anybody out there? No, I didn't even know. But because I'm low income, I take public transportation, we should know stuff like this.
Exactly.
So civic engagement is really important. Our people fought for that. A lot of people, you know, was injured, lost their lives, and died fighting for the right to vote. So we need to exercise that right.
Exactly. There's a lot of people right now saying, well, I'm just not gonna vote, you know, because they're upset with the two candidates that, you know, so they're just like, well, I'm just not gonna vote, but that's not okay.
Life is a compromise. You know, I can't get up every day saying this is how it is, this is how it's gonna be. Like, you have to compromise. I do not want to cast my vote to a candidate that I don't trust. And I don't trust either one of the candidates right now. But I know that I need to be very vocal when they showing up in my community, and whatever they commit to, hold them accountable for electoral. Exactly. And that's all I could do. And so I would just say that, like, you don't have a right to complain if you don't exercise your right to vote.
Exactly. Pretty much. So what's next for Safe Return, and lastly, what's next for Tamisha?
So right now, as the acting director of Safe Return is expanding right now. Gonna be hiring on a couple more formerly incarcerated folks. We're based in Richmond, California, but we're trying to expand out here to East County, like Antioch, or Pittsburgh. So we're gonna start hiring people from this region, like out here, formerly incarcerated folks who already know the streets and already know what's going on, and start doing some leadership development out here. Turning Safe Return into its own nonprofit. Owned, operated, and ran by formerly incarcerated folks, those who know the criminal justice system in and out through experience, but also through research to influence policy change. Safe Return has been influencing some national policy. I think we're going to continue to go in that trajectory. And just really a deep focus on women in mass incarceration, because I think that we haven't really tapped into that yet, like how women are being impacted by the criminal justice system and trauma in our communities. So that's just some of the stuff for Safe Return. As for me, I'm just trying to stay alive and free. So, out there trying to live free. I'm in school right now, so I'm a full-time student. I'm trying to get my psychology degree, probably a minor in criminal justice. I think my trajectory I really believe in mental health. You know what I mean? So I really think that I want to figure out a way to bring mental health with spirituality and social justice into this one atmosphere and bring it into my communities directly impacted by trauma. So we could figure out a way to get healthy so we can continue to fight these systems. So by the time we do create this utopian experience, right, where everything is right in the world, we don't send our people in there sick, so we still can't thrive. So for me, that's it. I'm just trying to make sure I eat 3 square meals a day, drink enough water, get as much sleep as I can, and continue to fight the good fight.
That's what's up. All right, but do you have anything else you would like to add or promote?
Yes, I do actually. So remember I said Safe Return was coming to East Contra Costa County? Well, we're having our kickoff event June 17th, 5 p.m. at the Presbyterian Community Church in Pittsburgh. That'll be at 200 East Leland Street, Pittsburgh, California. Also, something that you might want to get on top of registering for is the formerly incarcerated convicted people's movement celebration. It's happening September the 9th, 2016. You don't want to miss it. The registration link is live. You could find the information hopefully below, right?
Yes.
So you could register for that link. Come out. It's going to be a great experience. The other thing you don't want to forget is that the Racial Justice Coalition just fought for a Racial Justice Task Force. The deadline for that application is June 15th. You don't want to miss it. If you do miss it, however, don't worry about it. The Racial Justice Coalition will keep you updated on the next news around how to end racial inequality in Contra Costa County.
Well, that's all we have for today. And I'd like to thank you, Ms. Walker, for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the weekly discussion. And if you or someone you know is active in your community and like your voices to be heard, or if you have an upcoming event that you'd like for me to mention, email me at ninabrowngetdown@gmail.com. Have a good evening.